Well, I tell you what, man, I just had a great dinner and talking to so many great leaders, talking with Jeff when it came in at about 1 o'clock today and started chatting about the dream. Started chatting about understanding the power of the dream to change a person's life. And I just went back and read a book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. How many people ever read that book? You know, it's interesting because what led me back to that book is I was reading a book by Truett Cathy, who started Chick-fil-A. Everybody heard of Chick-fil-A, right? And he said that the book that impacted him the most outside the Bible was Think and Grow Rich. And I thought, well, that's interesting. I've heard some other people refer to that same thing. I think I'm going to go back and study that book. And as I went back and studied that book and tied it in with our financial fitness program, I realized how powerful all of these concepts are when you tie them together. So many people confuse. They look at the financial fitness program and they confuse it. Some of us look at it and say, oh, it's all about the financial matrix and how the fractional reserve banking, how the banks are producing money. And they're taking that money and they're taking that free money and basically seducing people into the financial matrix, and they're enslaving people against their will, and they run out and tell just that side of the story. Now that's a very important part of the story to understand, not to sell yourself into slavery. That's very important. But that's not the whole story. You see, if you take a look at the financial matrix, the fractional reserve banking is a very dangerous thing to play with. Remember when you were a kid, your mom and dad told you not to play with fire? Well, I would tell you as an adult not to play with debt. Because you think you can play, well, I'll just get a little debt, and I'll pay it off though. I'll just get a little debt. And then the next thing you know, you've been paying that off a little bit, but something else, some other shiny object comes up that you want. You're like, well, I'll just get a little bit more debt, but then I'll pay both of them off. And the next thing you know, you get to the point where you're no longer in control of your debt. Debt is in control of you. And I want to give you just an analogy to explain fractional reserve banking. As I'm going to walk through, I want to walk through the financial matrix, what it is. I want to walk through the defense. But then I really want to put the focus in on the offense of how you can break out of the cycle. Because so many people get our financial fitness program and they think it's all about keeping your head down, work, and never buy a new thing in your life and just pay off debt. And how many people are like, that just doesn't sound that fun. I think I'll take debt and a little bit of fun in my life. The actual answer is you can do all of the above, because you don't have to. One of the things the financial fitness program will teach you is not to have your head down, but to look up. To look up to realize that the sky's the limit for the person that dares to dream. And the problem with this financial matrix is the financial matrix does not want you to dream. The financial matrix wants to keep you on what I call the gerbil wheel of life. Do you understand? Have you ever seen a gerbil on a gerbil wheel? Have you ever noticed whether it was a slow gerbil or a fast gerbil, he still wasn't getting anywhere? I think that's a very important point, because so many people are like, oh, you don't understand, Orrin, I make $250,000 a year. That just means you're a fast-running gerbil. Well, I only make 25. No problem, you're just a slow gerbil, still not getting anywhere. And I know that's really politically incorrect to say all that, but I'm okay with it. Because I want to drive home the point that there is a path off of the gerbil wheel. And that's the one you ought to be, whether you're fast gerbil, slow gerbil, you ought to be looking for off the gerbil wheel. And there is a plan off of it, but until you understand how the gerbil wheel is designed, you're not going to find the path off of the gerbil wheel. So let me walk through the first part of it. Here's how the financial matrix is designed like a gerbil wheel. The banks get to create money out of thin air and loan it to you, and then you have to pay it back in real production. What do you mean by that, Orrin? How does that even work? Well, let me just give you the analogy. Suppose this man owned a motorcycle. And he owned this motorcycle, and he decided to sell it. He puts an ad in the paper, and he gets a strange call. This guy calls and says, man, that's exactly the motorcycle that I want. The only problem is my wife told me she'd divorce me if I ever rode another motorcycle. So I got this plan. I was wondering if you'd go along with it. Where do you have this motorcycle? Well, it's in my garage. Well, if I will pay for the motorcycle and pay you full price, if you will just store the motorcycle for me at your house. Now, I'm only going to be able to drive it one day a week, Saturday, because that's the day my wife goes over to her mom's house all day. So on Saturday, I want to use the bike, and the rest of the week, I just want to store it at your house. Will you do it? Seems kind of strange to me, but sure, if you pay full price, okay. Sold. And for a couple months, every Saturday, he comes over and drives the motorcycle. Now you, as the owner, notice that the bike just sits there the other 6 days. Like, I know I sold the bike, but doggone, it's still a nice bike. What's going to hurt if I just take it for a little spin on Monday? I'll fill it back up with gas. You drive around on Monday. Man, that was pretty fun. Just one day a week, though. Until Wednesday. Man, sure is a nice day out there. I'll take it for another spin. I'll just roll back the odometer afterwards. He'll never know. After a couple months of this, he doesn't complain. Then you really start getting creative. Say, well, geez, all I really sold him was this paper title. Happened to run an extra copy of that title. I'll copy that title. There's 7 days in the week, and I sold the bike, but he only uses it one day. Theoretically, I could sell that same bike 6 more times. So you run an ad. You run an ad in the paper. Looking for husbands with domineering wives. That's terrible. Okay, you run an ad saying, anybody interested in a bike, and you pre-screen. You say, well, so you would just want to take the bike and, you go, yeah, I'd just pick up the bike and I'd store it at my place. Yeah, I'm not interested in selling. So you have to go through a lot of people to find people just the one you're looking for. But somehow, over the next 60 days, you found several other people that were interested in having a bike, but whose wives weren't so interested. But you said, I'd come up with a plan. I'll store the bike at my house, and you can use it one day a week, and they won't, and you can use it, and you can drop it back. Your wife will never know. Okay, man, that's pretty smart. How'd you come up with that? Never mind. Now you can have it any day you want except for Saturday. So one guy takes Friday, another guy takes Sunday. Now think about what happened. You sold them a piece of paper. Now that paper is supposed to represent the motorcycle, right? But to the 3 owners, they all think they own the same motorcycle, don't they? You sold the motorcycle 3 times, so how are you doing as the owner? Pretty good in Fat City. I've sold it 3 times. There's 3 people that would claim to all their friends that they own a motorcycle, except for their wife. They wouldn't claim it to her. So there's 3 times as many motorcycles in circulation as actually motorcycles that exist. In their mind, they think there's 3 motorcycles, but there's only 1. But now we've taken 3 potential motorcycle buyers off the market with only 1 motorcycle. Do you realize fractional reserve banking does that not just 3 times, not just 7 times, but up to 10 times? The same piece of gold is represented by a piece of paper called a dollar bill. That dollar bill represents, or used to represent, physical gold. It was supposed to be paper to represent the actual item, just as the title represents the actual motorcycle. Now, if you got busted, if one of the owners found out that you had sold the motorcycle up to 7 times, and they found out, what would they do to you? They would report you to the police, and you would be responsible for fraud by selling the same title 7 times. It's a case closed. You are busted. In every field, you'd be busted for doing that, except for one: banking. In banking, it's called, one of the books said, in the mysterious, near magical process of fractional reserve, the same money multiplies itself up to 10 times. I'm like, so that's what they're calling? I mean, this is seriously, this is one of the top selling books on money that says near magical. Why don't we just call it what it is? Fraud. That's like, and near magically, the motorcycle reappears 7 times. It's not magic. It's fraudulent use of a title, a metaphysical title, to represent the physical thing. And by doing that 7 times for the bike, the value of all bikes has been decreased, because now 7 times as many people could potentially think they own a bike, even though only 1/7 the amount of bikes have actually been produced. It's robbing from people who actually own a bike, because their bike's not worth as much, because, I bought my 1/7 share, but they don't think it's 1/7 share. They think it's 100% share. It's a real problem.